Welcome to the 9th episode of Sawdust Nation with two blue-collar guys who love talking shop. AJ from Crafted in New Jersey and Josh from North Country Woodworking.
Bow, chicka, wow, wow.
All right. What's going on, Josh?
Nothing much, man. Just, trying to get in the shop when I can and trying to get everything done around the house before the new one gets here. But in the shop, that's what we want to hear. So in the shop right now, I have the two shelves that I am basically have glued together. I'll be finishing them here in the next couple days. One of them, like I said before, will not be finished. It would just be sanded and then given up. The other one's going to be completely finished by me. I also have a cornhole board that will be finished here in the next couple days. And like, I have a lot being finished in the shop. So I'm trying to make everything kind of time together so I can do all the finishing at the same time to save time. So I think I'm going to be spraying for the first time Varathane. And I was going to ask you for some tips because I know you have. I've brushed it on and it is a pain. Every time I brush it on, I always say, I'm going to spray it next time. This time for those boards, I am going to spray it because I am tired of having to deal with the goopy mess that it is. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I have the table that I'll be starting to build here soon. And that coffee table with epoxy. I'm still looking for the perfect piece. But, my good friend at New Jersey Wood Forever, talking to him because he's looking for a piece that he might have. And he had a great idea. It's kind of one of those crazy great ideas, right? I told him what I wanted, show him the picture of what the client kind of wanted. And he's like, I don't have anything like that right now in stock. I have this and that. He showed me some pictures. I'm like, not really what I'm looking for right now. And he's like, well, I have an idea for you. You want a coffee table that is basically a slab, a whole slab with little pockets of epoxy, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And he goes, drill some holes in it. Bang it up a little bit. Create those pockets. Take it to the range. Shoot it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Make sure that
stress relief.
Create a stressed out piece, a piece that basically you are creating from the beginning to the end. You're not just finding a slab that's kind of, rotted out in areas and pouring epoxy over. You're legitimately taking a beautiful piece of slab and then creating holes in it to create the look. Now, I would have never thought of that because as I was saying that, it kind of hurt a little thinking about taking a beautiful piece of wood and just banging the daylights out of it. I don't know if I can use it. Taking a beautiful piece of wood and making holes and...
we're going to have to leave that in, right?
Probably. Okay. Anyway, taking a beautiful piece of wood and basically destroying it in some sense. So I'm going to propose that to the client and see what they think. If they like the idea and they pick out the piece of wood, which I think I have a couple of pieces they can choose from because, AJ, you love saying how much I got a lumberyard in there. But if that's the case, we will have a slab and be able to create that table that they want. And hopefully can get all this done in September and start fresh in a month or so, doing more commissions and some, pre-made work. I still have your mallets to make too. I have the wood for it. I have everything cut up. I just have to go out there and create the holes for the HOBBs, piece it together and whatnot. The USO, unfortunately, can't stop by for a little while. We're going to wait that out, but they will be coming by to deliver the pieces and I will be building that for them whenever that occurs. But other than that, that's what I have going in the shop. It's a complete mess right now, by the way. I sent you a picture of it the other day because every time I go in there, I'm stressed out. And in fact, I might do a little cleanup after we record this today just so I can start fresh tomorrow. But
Nice.
So, man, what's going on in your shop? I know you have a couple things going on as well.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to touch on the Varathane spraying that. And then also I got a couple things for you with the cornhole boards. But, I got flags. It's always that way. Got a lot of finished ones just sitting in my back room. It's kind of sad to say that people are just either can't pick them up right away or they, because of the times that we're going through, money's a little tight. I guess they thought they were going to have the funds ready. So I'm sitting on a lot of finished flags. So I got to tiptoe when I go past them so I don't, destroy anything because I don't have a proper area for finished stuff. It used to be, I finish it, somebody picks it up. So I got flags all over the place. Got a couple other ones that I just stained. I got to do the stars tomorrow. And on top of that, my my wedding's coming up in just 30 days, so I got to get my butt in gear on that because the CNC's got to get put to a lot of work on creating, signs, table numbers. I got a whole long list here, and I don't know if you can hear the paper shaking, but I have a long list that.
I heard a notepad, not a paper. That seems a pretty thick material you got.
Yeah, she's probably in the next room shaking her head, laughing right now as I'm saying this. No, it's not that long of a list. Small wedding, so we don't have too much that we have to make. But on top of that, I'm going to be making cornhole boards and the quintessential, I guess, project that every woodworker makes is giant Jenga with a box. So I'm going to be doing that. Yeah, I know. You don't have to shake your head at that,
I know I'm shaking my head because I literally have all the pieces cut. I just need to sand them and finish them, but they've been in the corner with a bunch of sawdust on them for 3 months because it's the last thing in the world I want to do, and I just don't have time to do it.
I'm looking forward to it, as sad as that might sound, because it's a different project. It's different from the flags, even though you're just taking 2x4s, cutting them to length, and then, making it into a giant Jenga. Still got to make the box for them, and I want to make it look nice. So I'm probably at last minute, probably the day of the wedding, I'll probably cut everything and just slap it into a milk crate and bring it over, so it'll be fun. But, I got that, and then the cornhole boards, I think I mentioned that already. I don't know. I'm all over the place today. And then shop cleanup. Like you were saying, my shop is a disaster. And, having 2 rooms, they're still small rooms, but they get a lot of stuff in them. I just look, and next thing I know, I've realized that any flat surface, I just put stuff. I literally take it from one flat surface and move it to the next flat surface and wonder why I can never clean up. It's because I literally take it from my toolbox, I put it on my bench, and then I turn around and it's on my bench, and I'm going, why isn't it on my bench? Why isn't it on that bench or something? Why isn't it away? So definitely got to clean up the shop. Actually, before we started recording, I was actually downstairs in a groove. I haven't been. I've been kind of out of the shop. I haven't been feeling like making anything. I haven't even felt like going down there. And finally tonight, it definitely got in my little groove of where I wanted to clean up and get stuff right. So it's going good though. A lot of stuff is coming down the pipeline on my end with just projects and projects and projects. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on in my shop. You already said what you got going on, and so I guess let's touch on that Vera thing because I'm interested in hearing what concerns are, questions are, whatnot. Not that I'm a spray master or anything like that.
In my experience, which is very limited with this stuff, is that it doesn't cooperate the way I want it to. Like most of the polyurethane, polyacrylic that I use, I'm used to it. I know how it acts. I know how it's going to, be applied, how it's going to run, and I can account for that. Because my limited exposure to using Verathane, it just seems like in the couple times I've used it, I'm battling myself the entire time. So that's with me brushing it on. Like I just did the little swing set for my neighbor, and I brushed on Verathane on that because it's going to be outdoors, and I got to go back and basically sand it back down because I have your famous bugs in it. I have like drips from the other side that I couldn't get because I was using the Rockler little painter things with the tips. And, it's not the kind of product I want to leave the shop. It's not looking the way I want it to. So I'm going to sand down and do another coat. And this time I think I'm going to spray this next coat I'm using this as a test for the boards so I could better understand it because this is a smaller piece. It'd be easier to fix versus doing a large piece and having to fix that. So I guess my question after going on a long rant.
We never go on long rants on this podcast.
Never. But my question for you would be I say water it down, but do you use mineral oil to water it down so it's a little bit more, it's easier to spray? Mm-hmm. Or do you just leave it as is, which I can't imagine that comes out very good. I mean, I know you talked about different levels and you had to find the happy medium for it, but I just, in my mind and how it's, been painted on, it just seems too thick to just not, cut with something.
Okay. So are we talking Varathane regular clear or Varathane spar?
I think it's clear. I mean, I can go get the can, but it's from Minwax. It's I can't. It starts with a H.
It's like the polycrylic, but just Varathane.
Yeah, and it's oil based. Unfortunately,
Oh, okay. So it's not Varathane brand. It's Minwax brand.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. I mean, in theory, I've only sprayed water based. Even the spar was water based. So that I did not have to do anything to.
Here it is. It's Helmsman.
Oh, okay.
Satin oil based spar.
Now, quick question: why did you choose oil? It's just what they had.
That's exactly it. I went in and I looked around, and they didn't have. That was the only outdoor spar I could find. It wasn't my first choice. I was going to go to Home Depot, but that's a little further down the way, and I was limited on time. So I grabbed that, and I haven't used it before, and it's ugly beast.
I'm gonna say, it's funny because when you had the BB issue that you couldn't find BBs at Walmart, that was the same time I couldn't find Varathane water-based. I couldn't find water-based spar anywhere, and I needed it because I ran out. So I don't think they carry the water-based. Now, maybe they were just out, but everywhere that I looked actually set out of stock. I'd be curious to see how thick it is compared to the water-based. I do know that the water-based is pretty thick. I do run it through a 5-micron filter, I believe. So I get, if there's any chunks in there or whatnot that I don't want in the spray can. And I used to never do that. But then I see a lot of people filtering it prior to them putting it in their gun. And I have seen some chunks in there, maybe of some dried stuff, maybe stuff that got in there that wasn't supposed to be. And it has worked out better. For spraying, I've actually just gotten it down to the spar. I'll go off of that, even though it's water-based. I had issues in the beginning. When I first sprayed it down, I sprayed it exactly the same way I do my polycrylic. Same speed, same technique. And what I noticed is the faster you go, the better it is. If you go at like a slower speed of moving the gun, then what's going to happen is you're going to pool up a little bit and you won't get such an even coat. This is my experience. And then I went just a little bit faster after I sanded it down. And let me tell you, my sanding was not as much as the very first coat. So after the first coat and speeding up, it actually laid out completely different and much better. And every coat after, it really, really took on almost like the polycrylic. Like I said, I hated it in the beginning because I was like, why am I using this stuff? I like my polycrylic, but I needed to because these are going to be outdoor flags. I got disappointed because I'm like, I talked to another guy and he loves this stuff. That's all he uses because, just if in case they want to put the flag outside, they can. And he said, that's all I use and here's how I do it. And I think he brushes it on. But I have the sprayer, so I said, let me just spray it because I'm used to it now. I'm telling you, I would do a test piece like you're going to, just so that you can see. I would almost do two little sections, do a little like a normal kind of speed and then a little bit faster and see how they lay out. Because I know I had to speed up a little bit more than I normally lay my polycrylic. And here's one little trick that I did. After I sprayed it, I did you got the flag. So I went across the whole thing in one speed. And then I kind of went a little bit faster and did like a second coat right after I just coated it, almost to, I guess, fill in like the little voids that might have been there. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but it actually worked. I don't know if it worked out well, but my final product came out really good. And I did almost 3 test runs on a flag. So I did one, normal speed, didn't work out. Sanded it down. Did it a little faster and it came out better. Then I did it again and I did it a little, same faster speed and then did that little trick at the end by just almost misting it. And it actually came out like glass.
Yeah, we're going to have to give that a go because I am tired of brushing, and I think I'm going to do is get a entirely new gun, use that for oil-based, and keep the one I currently have for the water-based, so I'm not mixing the two. Just for easier cleanup, and I can spray paint the outside orange or whatever, just to make sure I don't mix ever the two.
What sprayer are you using? The Home Right?
Yeah, the Home Right.
Okay. I don't know if you have to. I don't have a Home Right. I have a Wagner Flexio 4000, and of course I have five different canisters. So and they come with the spray head. So pretty much there's a handle that just locks on to the spray head, and so I can have a different canister for different polys or different stains or whatever I want in them, and it never mixes in the machine since it's all in that little canister.
The way the Home Right is actually made is you have a container and it goes up to a basic hose and you screw it on and it goes through the machine and sprays. So,
Correct.
I want to have a second gun so my cleaning process different. I use this gun, I throw it in mineral oil and I clean it, or I use this gun and I just throw it in some water and I clean it up that way.
Yep.
And that way I never have to. It's an easy, kill each time.
Oh yeah. I was wondering if they had cup on the bottom, if they sold that separate.
Yes, they do. I have two. I have one that I'll use for paint, one I use for poly. I was going to buy another one just to have another one because right now I have one that has polyacrylic in it and it's satin, I believe, that I've been using a lot because, I've changed over from, semi-gloss gloss, like almost like you have, because that satin is just, it's money. And that's what I want to go with for most of my projects. I don't know. I know Home Right came out with a new gun that basically operates a little bit differently. I believe half the gun basically comes off and it comes with a canister. I have to do more research. I actually reached out to them a while back and said, hey, that's a brilliant idea. I really like it. And it's, I think on Amazon for like $50.
I have to say, I sprayed paint one time with this Wagner. And I didn't know anything about spraying paint except, in a rattle can. So I just loaded paint right into the canister. And next thing I know, it is splattering everywhere because I didn't thin it. So I kind of got a little worried once I did the polyacrylic, but it actually worked out real well. No thinning involved. It literally, you dump it in, you spray, and that's it. The biggest thing that I have an issue with is I don't clean my guns regularly. I clean them when they start failing. So if I see it not spraying right, then I have to take it apart pretty much once the tip gets a little like poly over it, it just creates a seal. And then I just pick that seal off with a little knife. And next thing I know, I'm spraying and no problems. I actually had two guns. I had my matte, because I've actually never sprayed satin. I'm curious. The only satin I did was, I lie. I think the Varathane, the Varathane Spar was satin, but I have not used the polyacrylic satin. I have two cans of it and still haven't used it. I've been using matte. So is it like compared to a semi-gloss? Is it really dull, or is it still got a sheen to it?
I would say it goes satin, matte, so it has a little more sheen than the matte does, and I like that because semi-gloss is, I think, too much, and that satin is just like a little bit that gives it that little bit of shine. I hate saying it like this, but that warm feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. That's why I kind of fell in love with the matte. It's because I don't like shiny things. So when I was clearing them in semi-gloss, that was shiny to me. And then actually I had something that I did in full gloss, and I was like, wow, this thing is like reflective. At this point, the light beamed right off of it. Once I laid my hands on matte, I mean, the flags took a completely different shape. Just the way they looked, the way they felt, they did feel like warm to them, where it almost felt like a real flag. It wasn't, gaudy and too shiny. So I'm curious about the satin. I'm going to have to make a flag for myself and spray it in satin.
I do have matte and I use it once in a while, but I really like the satin. And I agree with you. I think what happens when you use gloss exceedingly, or when you use semi-gloss, what happens is you're taking away from the piece. I really feel when you start using satin, matte, you're giving the piece the forefront and not the shine.
It's definite. I love it. I mean, the desk that I'm actually sitting at right now, I'm trying to think. This was, I think, a semi-gloss, and it's too shiny for me. I wish I could redo it and then, do it in a matte or the satin to give it a little bit different depth to it.
Yeah, I'll be doing a piece of house furniture here shortly. We got rid of our fish tank and we're going to turn that area into like a office. So I'm going to do a slab and then I'm going to finish it and maybe a little bit of epoxy dependent. It's probably going to be one of the ash slabs that I have that I would use because I really like that look. Or that maple. I might cut that maple down and use that big maple slab, that 9-foot one that's been sitting by my door for like a couple months. That is the plan, at least for now. I'll be doing some work over in that corner, trying to finish that up. And I've been thinking about what I want to use to basically finish it with. I want to leave one side of like the live edge and the other side cut flat to go against the wall. And it's going to be like a floating shelf almost, but floating desk, I guess you could say. And underneath, I'm going to actually do some filing cabinets with some built-in shelves for the printer and the Cricut and stuff like that. That could be moved out when necessary.
I got, you were talking about that, and I was looking around in my office. I got a piece of oak that's a live edge, and it's actually on both sides. So I'm thinking that I might be able to rip it down perfectly in the center and get some shelves above, above my desk that would fit in this room really nice, but I'm wondering what I should clear them in. I'm thinking maybe I'll try the satin on them.
Yeah, man, go with the satin, or at least try satin on something. You'll fall in love with it. It's just a little bit more than the matte.
Okay.
It definitely goes nice with some pieces. So we went down a rabbit hole there for a little while talking about finishes. So hopefully you guys learned something about that. But I actually do want to take a hard right and talk about the fact that you've had some little bit of motivation issues going into your shop.
For the past, I don't know, it feels like therapy session now.
So please lay back and tell me where it all started. Okay,
so when I was 2, lately it's like, I don't know what's been going on. It's probably the moon, the stars, nothing's really aligning right. My shop's a mess. It's like every time I walk through the shop, I leave through the shop and I come home through it because it's right in my garage. So every day I go out, I look at a mess. And I keep saying that I want to make a French cleat wall to organize myself so, all my tools aren't scattered all over the place. And everything then has a home because everything's, a home is kind of under a workbench, one of many, or just kind of on top of it and then in my way. So, I want to try to get myself a little bit more organized. And it's even that, we've talked about it, trying to even get out there and you walk out and you go, where am I going to start? And you have no clear answer on, okay, I want to start here and then move to the next one.
We talked about this in another episode, but the reason I'm bringing it up now is because I want to make sure that people out there understand there seems to be some hidden pressure when it comes to Instagram and creating pieces and trying to get something out there every day, a story, a post, or whatever. But the reason we call ourselves the blue collar workers is because this isn't our first job. What we do is we do our primary job. We have, families and we take care of all those. And then in addition, we do the woodworking that, we love. We love to the point where we do posts and we do stories, but it's a priority, but we try to make everything else a priority too. So it's really time management and trying to get out there. There's days. Your schedule is kind of crazy. You work long days. So when you get home, to get in the shop and do that, it takes a lot of motivation. So I'm going to share with you guys basically what helps me. Now, I'm guilty of this too. In fact, for the last couple months, I've been kind of going in and out of the shop, 2 or 3 days on, 2 or 3 days off because, I have things going on in my home life, but in work as well, I still have orders to complete. So to help me to get back in the shop, I go back to what I love about going into the shop. I go in there and I start cleaning. It's a pain. I know you're where you sit because when I go in there, I usually do it when everyone goes to bed. I turn on a movie. I turn on some music I love, or, I turn on our podcast and I just listen to it. Something that in the background to keep my mind busy. and I just go at it. And I literally use that time I usually would do to create something, to clean the shop. Because to me, that's a very important step to get back in there. And then if that still doesn't do it, if I wake up the next day and it's a weekend and I get to go straight in there, I'll do a project for the shop. Because to me, the shop is like my man cave. It's the place I like going to get away from everything else. Even if I have, 6 projects that are commissioned and I need to knock them out the door, I'll take 1-2 hours, make a jig, maybe make a small cron board, or, I'll make something to basically something that I really want to do personally, because that's why we're doing this. We love what we do. That helps me realign what I love most about going out there. And then I can take a deep breath, look at what I need to do, and power through it. And enjoy it, because you know what? I took the time to do something I really, truly love doing. Because let's face it, we make things, and we don't always make the things that we really want to make. We make the things people want us to make, which is awesome. People trust us with giving us their vision. We're creating something from nothing, essentially. That takes a lot of effort. It takes, you have to sit down and build it in your head or on paper or on a computer. You have to go out there and then put that to work. You got to make it fit the way it did in your head on the computer, however you planned it. Anyone that listens to this podcast probably goes out there and does this stuff. It's not something to just turn your head at, because it is a great feat. A lot of people don't do this. That's why they come to us. So I am truly grateful for our clients and everything, but sometimes you got to take a little bit of me time, and you got to go out there and organize a shop and do something for your shop and yourself. It's almost like a refresh button.
Yeah, it definitely is. I struggle every time I go down in the shop with one thing in particular, and it sounds crazy to me, but I can't. Well, let me rephrase that. I can never find a good playlist or a good genre of music, and that's what helps me get motivated. If I'm scrolling through music, you kind of don't get into it. I mean, tonight I hit on something good, and time just literally flew by. Next thing I know, it's 9:15, and I'm going, oh man, I got to get upstairs so I can get ready for the recording of the podcast. So. It's even if I go down there and I know I want to do something, if I'm not feeling it, and then I can't find good music, it drags, and then you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. So then you really got to step back and just go, maybe I don't need to be down here right now. Let me go upstairs. Tomorrow's a new day. But then also, here's my problem. I got a lot of problems. This is one of many.
That's okay. Your session is about 10 minutes. You got about 9:54 left. Go ahead.
Thanks. You're not going to show me a little card that says, what does this image remind you of?
Rorschach test, I think it's called. So,
yeah, I'm not sure.
What does that look like to you?
Aliens.
Aliens. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a Rain Total Body fuel can. Now we're going to go into what the picture means to him.
So... I don't even remember where I was at. The one biggest thing that I have an issue with is customer projects. If I get behind on a project, I start really going, I start beating myself up about it, because I shouldn't have been behind. I shouldn't have been quote unquote lazy. I should have just done it when I needed to. And then that makes me feel down. And then I don't want to go out there, because now I'm so just bummed out. And it's a struggle to get back in. And then once I do get back in, I had 2 projects that were way behind. The 2 customers were very understanding, because I had a lot going on. Once I got back out there, I got, sat down, I started staining some flags, and it felt good. I felt good even though I was in a messy shop. It still felt good. And then even today, like I said, I was cleaning up that shop. I could have stayed down there for another couple hours, just continuing to clean. So yeah, I mean, the cleaning is definitely a refresh button. Tomorrow I'll come home and I'll actually be able to see my bench and see what I'm doing, instead of, carving through a ton of just tools on top of it.
Benches are essentially just shelves for things.
Yes, for a lot of things. And then the next bench is a shelf for the stuff that's on your previous bench that you need to get out of your way.
You just keep moving it down your flow, and eventually you'll make it back to where it started.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It works from that main bench to the second bench back to the main bench, and you wonder how it got there.
Absolutely.
So, But yeah, I mean, and that's a huge thing for me as well, is what you just said, flow. My shop flow is way off. And I think that would also make it more enjoyable, because once you don't have a good flow, which I trip over myself a lot of the times, it's almost not enjoyable going down there as well for that reason, because it's going to be not a struggle, but more of a hassle, because, you're going to constantly be looking for something that is somewhere and you can't find it. And then it takes longer than it needs to finish that project. Hopefully I'm making sense to somebody out there, because Josh is staring at me like I have 3 heads. He keeps looking down.
No, not at all. I'm looking down because I have a crazy idea, especially in these times. So when things start slowing down, which they'll never do, when we find time, which is probably a better verbiage there, so, and COVID slows down a little bit, and, new one's here and we're all safe and sound, I'll make a trip down there and we'll reorganize your shop to something that you like and something that you can walk in and it flows better for you. And, that will help. I constantly have changed mine, and I finally got to a place where I like the way everything's set up. I change it here and there a little bit, but it's never so dramatic that it changes completely for me. I tried to move my bandsaw to the other side of the room, and I absolutely hated it. That's how much I like the flow I have going currently.
A lot of my tools are portable, because, like I said, I can't fit everything in my garage shop. So I move it into the back area, which is where the CNC is housed. So, my shop flow kind of continually, that's a made up word, by the way, continually. Whatever. It continues to change. So my shop flow continues to change every single day I'm in there, because one day I could be using the joiner, the next day I'm not. Go ahead, your hand's raised.
No, I was gonna let you finish at least, but
I got nothing else.
I honestly think flip carts might be your go-to in this. If you had a couple flip carts for some of your tools, you would have a couple stations that you can reel out what you do anyway. You know what I'm saying? And you have now, taken essentially your tool locations and divided it by 2, giving you more space, allowing you to have a better flow. And if you put it on wheels and they're good enough casters, you can, like my 2 benches, they're 5-inch casters with rubber wheels, and every single one locks. So when I bring it out the garage, basically there's a decline. So I immediately go out there and have to lock those casters, or it's going to be running down the street. So that's how I have to set up, and that's how I work essentially out there.
One of my biggest issues is not so much, because I do have everything big, except my planer I have on carts. It's more sanders, routers, jigsaws, the small hand tools. So that's kind of why I keep thinking about a French cleat wall, because then I can make the holder, and if I don't see it in the holder, then I know it's elsewhere. So because I use a lot of that stuff more than I actually use kind of anything else. Because if I do like a wavy flag, I use a grinder, and then I'm to a Merca or my DeWalt sander, and then I'm kind of standing at that point. So I don't have to worry about the drum sander, the planer, the joiner, nothing like that. So it's more, my flow is kind of focused on just small power tools.
So hand tools, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Well, you have a 3D printer, so what you could do is you can make a lot of the battery holders and a lot of the actual tool holders for that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like Peter from Petrie Workshop, he actually has an Etsy page where he has a lot of the tool holders on there that he actually 3D prints. He's designed a lot of these, by himself. Essentially, I have a drill holder out there that I created that, is where I charge my batteries and everything else. It's kind of a dedicated spot for all this. I also have some sanding stuff in there because, well, that's where it landed. My point to going through this is there's a lot of capability with that 3D printer. You can essentially make a one-stop shop for a lot of drills and batteries and your routers and stuff like that, with that combination of your woodworking and your 3D printer at the same time. You even have a CNC machine. So there's plans out there for a lot of the holders and stuff. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can almost have the CNC machine working for you, cutting that plywood, and then just have it put it together. I think that from what you've described would be a great benefit to you having that French cleat law. especially somewhere you could access everything and even have it portioned out. So like, you have your carving out section for flags over here, finishing over here, flat flags, the tools used mostly over here, something like that.
Yeah, it's funny you actually said about Pete's battery or tool holders. I stopped by his shop a while back, and I actually picked up. He actually gave me the tool holders for Milwaukee. I've been slacking on putting them up because I have nowhere to put them right now. So where my drills reside right now, they fit in completely different than how his tool holders are. And I actually need to make it a little bit deeper to accept the tool holder, because if I put it on there, it would actually hit the wall. So I want to revamp. I'd have to take some pictures and show you, but I really want to make this because I got cinder block walls. So I want to actually make like a picture framed French cleat wall. So I think I'm going to get a nice piece of ply and then probably do like a nice border of walnut or something like that. Make it look kind of at least decent, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take balsa wood and make the French cleat. I'm going to laminate 30 pieces of balsa wood together.
It'd be good practice for lamination. I think you should totally do it and do a YouTube video about it and just see how many people want to burn down the house.
I'm actually just going to use MDF on the whole thing.
You know what? Hey, whatever. If it works, it works. I'm telling you, like, what it comes down to is the material you can get and the material that actually, you're going to use. You don't need to use oak plywood or maple plywood or anything crazy. Use birch or just use whatever, is cheap and easy. It's shop furniture. And there's some shop furniture I totally agree going all out and getting, the best quality materials for, especially the workbenches and stuff you're going to do, hand tools and stuff like that. But a majority of it, you're probably going to rebuild it or do something with it, in the future. Why spend, hundreds of dollars on it for no reason?
So besides me going on rants about how I've just been so down and needed to talk to you tonight about my problems that I'm having, therapist, I think we got a question that came in, right?
So it's kind of funny you bring that up, because this entire episode we've been talking about our shops, our shop flows, and a little bit sprinkled of other things. But Trails Custom Woodworks gave us a question about dream shops.
Hi guys, it's Isaiah here from Trails Custom Woodworks on the Big IG. My question for you this week is on dream shops. What would your dream shop look like? Would you build it yourself? Would you hire out someone? How many square feet would your dream shop be? Would you build a barn and add on to your house with a bigger garage or a warehouse, or lease a shop somewhere? It's a dream shop, so you could do anything. The sky's the limit. Would you have a recording studio for the podcast in your shop? And what brand of tools would you go to? Because it's a dream shop. We can dream here. Me personally, I would build a 20 by 80 foot post and beam barn and have the basement as a shop. Second story is finishing. And third story would be a loft where you could hang out. Absolutely love the podcast, guys. You're killing it. Cannot wait to hear your ideas on this amazing topic.
I got to give this some thought. I don't know. You have any ideas on what your dream shop would be and how big?
Well, how big would I want it? I would be, since it's dream shop, so I'm going to go all out, right? So it's going to be able to expand anytime I need it to.
Like an accordion?
Almost like an accordion. Like when I need a wing or I need a certain area for a tool, pop, there it goes. I have that space.
We're literally thinking really dream.
Oh, of course we are.
I don't know if a building could just pop and next thing you know, it's like an accordion.
Oh, we can take it down a notch. Fine. Be realistic.
I was joking.
You broke my dreams.
Sorry.
Basically, my dream shop would include. Let's go with the brand first. Let's start with there. I like Powermatic. I don't own anything by Powermatic, but I like the brand. I like what they put out there. I like how their tools are reliable. Every time I hear about Powermatic, it's nothing but good stuff. It's high quality tools. They've been around for a long time and their tools stand the test of time. You have people using, pretty old tools and they're still using them daily and working just fine. So I'll outlay everything much like the Wood Whisperer does with Powermatic. I definitely like his shop and how it's laid out. I like how it is essentially, it's not too big, but he has space for all of his tools. So, I mean, if I was going to model anything, that'd be who I model after, just because, I mean, when I first started listening to him on his YouTube videos and saw his shop, I'm like, that instantly is where I wanted my shop to be. Because even when he does some of his recordings, he has that like little area where his benches in the back, and it's just a nice work area. That, that takes care of a lot of the power tools. I would have the drum sander, obviously the bandsaw, the planer. It just, all the bells and whistles, everything basically having its own spot, dust collection, air filtration. I would have a area dedicated just for finishing, and I would have it so that great air filtration in there. And no matter how much sawdust I'm making, it never enters that area. I would have a room for epoxy pours where I can do, cooled tables and, do huge epoxy pours and do that section, because epoxy is something that is big, especially right now. And I do like utilizing it as a tool. I don't want to be able to do it, every job I do, but I would like to be able to pour some epoxy, build some furniture, and then, as I'm building a piece, I can go ahead and start finishing another piece, and I have to worry about, coinciding the two. That way I don't ruin a piece. So, I mean, obviously, okay, it's going to be bigger than what the Wood Whisperer has because of those two areas, but the shop style would be that. And I would want it all on one floor, only because I don't want to have to try to lift up anything and go to another floor. But I do like what he said about a hangout area. Maybe like a place for the podcast. So maybe like, I don't know, a basement or even a second floor just to kind of like man cave it up, have the stuff for the podcast set up, because right now the podcast stuff I remove. I do it in a kitchen. It'd be nice to, leave that stuff alone, have a dedicated area for that. And, maybe even do some of my planning for furniture up there, have a drafting table type system where I can draw it up. Big component of drawing it up or putting it in my notebook, a big book of secrets, Calavera. But, yeah, man, that would be my dream shop. Powermatic. I would have it big enough where basically I have enough dust collection horsepower to undoubtedly collect every piece of dust that could float. I mean, like, I want godly where, like, I don't have to sweep ever and no dust anywhere. That'd be awesome. And, air filtration to help with that. And then, pretty much all the big tools, even some of the smaller, less known tools, I would go with Fez tool. I don't have them now because they're just too expensive, but I would definitely have the joiner. I would have, I got to have a Merca, all the good woodworkers out there do. Some of the hand tools, I would definitely be having, Stanley Sweethearts and having, basically all the different planes I can get, Japanese chisels. And I would have, oh man, it's like a daydreaming.
Well, yeah, it's your dream shop.
Yeah. So like that would be definitely, it's definitely something that I would want. Plain area, hand tool area, and then an entire room separated to put all my finished projects where nothing could, damage them. Because, sometimes, like you have said, people take time to pick it up. And if you have the areas to do all this, you can pretty much have a rotation, a flow where you could be like building things, finishing, and basically when you get to a point where you're waiting on glue to dry, be finishing. When you're waiting on finishing and the glue to dry, you could pour epoxy. And lastly, I would have someone that would be able to help me when I needed them and clean up the shop for me and put it all in the right areas.
Nice. You really hit on every little topic. Man, I'm sitting here going, I don't even know what tools I would do. But that is a really, really nice dream shop. I'm still liking the accordion design. So if anybody complains, if it's too big, then you just scrunch it down for the time being, and then you can expand it, at night.
Well, when they survey your land or whatnot, because you're going to have a pretty big piece of land for it, you scrunch it to like a shed, and when they leave, you just let it go, and it goes to where you want it.
Yeah, you could get away with, cheaper taxes at that point because it's a smaller building.
Well, in Jersey, you're still going to pay like $20,000 for the taxes.
Anyway, so... anything else that you want to add to your dream shop? I mean, you got like a staff, a cleaning crew, a dust collector that could suck the air out of the whole world.
I don't know about that. realistic here. But, besides that, I said Fez tool, and I would like to add Bosch. And since I started, I really taken a liking to the Bosch tools. So I would be a Fez tool Bosch guy.
I think I've mentioned my Bosch miter saw once or twice on here. I'm just not too sure. But I really like it.
No, you have a Bosch miter saw?
Yeah. I once had a different saw, and then I got this nice Bosch Glide. I can't say enough about it. So I think I'm going to have to bring that up next episode, just to bring everybody up to speed. But anyway, my dream shop, I was thinking about this, and, I don't need anything huge. I really don't. I don't need a whole warehouse or anything like that. What my dream shop would consist of is something that I would love to have in my current shop, and it is a dedicated miter station that I'm able to install, stop blocks onto and do repetitive cuts instead of having a little fold down wing cart as my miter station. But I would like to have, I'm trying to think of a size, a decent, I could even live with a 2-car garage, like a high ceiling 2-car garage. And I think that might be plenty for me. Of course, I would love to have a, upstairs area or, downstairs for the recording, hanging out, doing whatever. But in the shop, so now I'm going to have to retract myself. I would have to have a bigger shop because I forgot that I would like a finishing booth and also a CNC room that I can keep everything in there that's dedicated just for that. So you have your own stations. I do like how you said about another spare area for the finished products, just in case they do get, left, or you can even do stock, so if you do some projects, then you can leave them in there, have them at the ready, and get them packaged up. So it would almost be like a finished project room plus a shipping room.
Absolutely. And to add on to that dream shop, I would have a place for all my lumber, a separate room.
Really?
Yes.
You wouldn't keep it in the shop?
Close to the main floor, but so I can have like all my slabs and my cookies and stuff in a separate room. So like if they ever do bring any insects in, it's all in that one room. And I keep that away from, because everything's in my one garage now. And, there's been a couple of times where, it's pretty, cleaned out in there. And I'll see some massive spider come out that I've never seen in my entire life. And I'm like, okay, torch.
So what kind of cookies would you have in there?
I like almond raisin.
Like Oreos?
I like almond raisin myself. I'm not a big cookie person, but almond raisins are my favorite. So,
yeah. All right. That would be a lot of cookies in that room.
It would be. Yeah. A lot of sweets.
Okay. So anyway. So I would definitely want something with tall ceilings because I'm dealing with 7-foot ceilings right now. And one thing that I would love to have is drop down air, like air reels, electric reels, so that everything's above and not on the floor. I was actually toying around the idea because where I sand, I have to put the extension cord like across my table saw because I work on my outfeed. And I was almost thinking I might just actually add another electric box right above it so that I have everything right there. Even though it's literally a fingertip away, it still would be out of my way. Of course, the Merca does not come battery operated because, it is electric powered. So when I'm using it, even my DeWalt random orbit, I still got to plug it in. So I would love to have that stuff above me. Dust collection, big thing. I have one. I would love to have a nice big one that I can keep multiple tools open at the same time because, of course, I can only run one at a time. Even though I'm hard piped, I have everything piped from my miter saw to the bandsaw to the CNC and table saw. I can only use one at a time. If I open 2 blast gates at once, it definitely is a lot less suction. So, something nice, something big. I said the finishing booth, the CNC room, a loft, like you said, somewhere you just hang out. And I can record this. And, not for nothing. I mean, I'm only upstairs, so I'm not too far away from my shop currently. But, at least then if let's just say we're recording, you could run out into the shop real quick, grab something if you needed to reference it. And then, it's a one-stop shop, your shop and your recording area kind of within arm's length. But yeah, I would love a dream shop. I would love to add another garage onto my house and then make that into a secondary shop, but I of course can't.
It's one of those things where we're using what we have. I mean, like for me, I rent, so I can't put in another box or another, outlet or anything crazy. I have to stay within the confines of what I have, including in my shop. I have very few tools actually plugged in the wall. I have my meter saw that's plugged in, and I have my joiner and my dust collection. Everything else is basically I have to plug into. I have two extension cords. One goes to one circuit breaker, one goes to another circuit breaker. And like when I run my dust collection in my planer, I have to make sure I use my blue cord and my. So I have to be very careful because one circuit breaker is a 20 amp, the other one's a 15. So if I run, two, big tools, I pop the circuit breaker, internet goes down, a light turns off in the house. And then I got, my wife yelling at me saying, hey, internet's down, lights off.
Now, one of the biggest things that I was thinking about was, would your shop be attached to the place you're living in, or would it be separate?
Absolutely not attached. Now, my shop is attached. It's an attached garage. In fact, it's like, 25 steps away from my kitchen. It's a very small house that we live in, and I can go right out there fairly easy when it's cold, hot, whatever. I actually have the AC going in there pretty much all day because after this I'm going to go and finish some stuff up, but I can't make much noise. Like tonight, I'll be doing a bunch of glue ups. I can't make much noise because, my son's room is right above it, and the nursery is right next to that. So I can't go in and do any major cuttings or run my CNC machine if I had one or anything like that. So I'm limited, to the schedule of my family because of that. Now, a detached shop, in that dream shop I would have my CNC running, I would have my 3D printer printing, I would have my lasering and, epoxy, curing. It would give me everything I need so I could be the most effective. Now, do I need all those things? Absolutely not. We're doing just fine without that. It's a dream shop. I want to be able to operate in such a way where I'm not limited by space and that I have the areas I need to run a shop. Because if I had that dream shop, I would be doing it full time, and that would be my only job.
I don't know if I would go detached. Because I don't like walking in the dark. So, walking from the house to the shop around here, you might get mauled by a bear. So I'd rather not take that risk. So my personal shop would have to be attached.
You can have an underground tunnel. It's a dream shop.
Yeah, I'm just joking. I would, if I had a dream shop, I think I would have dream money. So then I can put dream expensive lights all over the place.
You walk out and it looks like the sun. Oh, I want to add on to this. I want to have a kiln in the back.
You're talking about the kiln that you want me to get?
Yeah, but I'm trying to talk you into build so I can use it. But no, I would have one in the back, and like a real legit one. And I would have a mill also in the back so I can mill my own logs, dry my own slabs, and sell what I don't want to use and use the rest for my own goods.
It's almost like you're never going to have time to work. Like not at your job, because this is going to be your job. You're going to be milling, drying, recording.
You kidding me? I would absolutely go ahead. If I had the money to buy all that stuff and set it up and where I didn't have to pay on anything, it was all paid off, I would absolutely do this full time. I love it. I love it that much. Yes, I have my days where I go in the shop. I'm like, oh my God, I have to clean, and I don't want to necessarily do anything. But if it was my full-time job and that's what I relied on, I would absolutely, no matter what, be out there doing something.
Would you hire robots besides a CNC? And, I'm talking like legit, like you said you wanted to hire somebody or have somebody to clean up after you.
I meant more like my son, so he can help me clean out. No, honestly, when I say that, I'm thinking more like the lines of like, sometimes it'd be nice to have a second hand in the shop. There's literally been times where somehow I'm holding everything with both my hands. I'm holding something in my teeth and I'm trying to grab something with my foot.
I was just thinking of this because I deal with it in my shop right now. I would like to have, this is getting a little bit into the fine details of it, but a nice floor, like a nice rustic looking hardwood floor, and also a wood burning stove.
Yes, especially because we haven't really talked where we would like to have our shop. What state, stay in Jersey or what. But if I was going to stay in the Northeast, which I'm from the Northeast and I would like to stay there, I would definitely, if I stayed Northern, I would have a wood burning stove because those would heat up that space, no problem. But they're more from offcuts. It's a dream shop, man. So I would have central heating in AC, and I would have a certain Alexa. She still heard me. Controlled everything, and like I can be like, hey, heat up the shop 72 degrees or whatever, and just go out there.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely. You got my wheels turning now because I'm really thinking of how I can. I was actually thinking the other day. The reason that I said the floor, I have a concrete floor that they used to park cars into the garage, and the salt ate away at the concrete. So trying to roll my table saw is a hassle. Trying to roll anything in there is a hassle. Some spots are flat, but I was almost thinking of putting like some pergo flooring down, and I'm like, it would be nice, but I'd have to redo the floor first.
Absolutely. Yep.
But I would like to, because I forget, there was a YouTube video that I saw, and the guy had a beautiful shop, and it looked almost like a loft shop, and he had gorgeous floors and the wood burning stove. And I mean, this shop was like immaculate. I wish I could remember who it was because I'd love to check out the video again. But yeah, a dream shop is something I've always thought about. I like always, everybody does. But the one thing I did not touch on is tools. It's hard for me to decide what kind of tools I would go with because of a brand. I think I would go with Harbor Freight everything.
It makes sense. Absolutely sense. Yeah, when you do that, make sure you get the extra warranty. And I'm not saying on the tools, the life insurance.
On yourself, yes. Exactly. Of course, hands down, the one thing, SawStop. I would definitely go with one of those.
Would you go with the SawStop over any other saw?
If I was doing, if this is a dream shop because we're going to be in it full time, 100% hands down a SawStop. Because if you're doing it all the time, you're more prone to some sort of accident. And I'd rather have that protection than not.
That's fair enough. I mean, I didn't even think about using, because it's so out of my price range right now, is actually using that. Because, when I think of all the tools, I skipped right over that. That's a great idea.
I keep building one online. I build one almost every week, and just to look at the number.
Where would you put it? Because I know what you're doing, because I've done the same thing. You had all the bells and whistles, and then I quickly realized if I had one, I wouldn't be able to do anything in my shop, including go out, move past it.
To be honest, I've done that before, add every single thing and see how high I could get the number and then start laughing at it. But I actually built it realistically.
Oh, okay.
Because I went, okay, if I'm really considering it one day, maybe I could start saving for it and then one day get it. How would it be? It's going to be years before I ever got it. So I said, let me just, if I was to buy it today, how would I need it? And I built it the way I would want it, a router table I could put in there, the necessities that I would need. Do I need a sliding, table? You would think it, but I don't. I don't. I don't need a full cabinet, full, what the hell is that, panel saw?
You need all the tools. It's a simple answer. All the tools.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm also, for my bandsaw purchase, I would get a Ryobi benchtop bandsaw.
I quit.
Why? That's not a good one?
Dream shop, man. Dream shop.
With a one-tooth blade, it would be a long cut. It would cut like just a kink. No, but for real, I think I would go with a Powermatic or a Laguna bandsaw. Definitely a larger drum sander than I have currently. Probably a Supermax, and a bigger joiner, bigger planer, and everything would have its dedicated space. Of course, then you don't have to worry about moving anything. You can just work in a normal flow. And the one biggest thing that I would love to have in a dream shop, which I'm hoping to one day have, is a flat workbench.
I have a friend, he dabbles in woodworking, and he went crazy over his bench. He spent, I don't know, I forget the amount of time. Like I said, he dabbles. But he can literally use his bench as a straight edge. That's how straight it is. And he set it up in such a way where like his top could be refinished like instantly. And he was telling me all this, and I forget all the details, and I'm gonna eventually sit him down and be like, okay, and take notes. But the way he described it is just genius. It's important to have a bench like that because one of the things that I've been holding out, I have some half cookies that I've had epoxy on for, I don't know, 6 months. And I haven't done anything with them because I don't have, my planer is too small for it. And I need to do a router sled. But I don't have a dead flat surface to do it. I've asked other makers and they're like, yeah, use your table saw. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to use my job site DeWalt that is, sitting on a cart to, no, it's not practical.
Do you by any chance know if his workbench is a torsion box style or is it?
It is. Yes, absolutely is.
Oh,
it's
okay.
a torsion box style. It's a mix of different things. It was, I don't know, it was pre-COVID when we talked about it. So it's been a moment. As he was building it, his family members were like, you're way overbuilding this bench. Like, you're spending way too much time. And like, he's like, yeah, I had the final laugh when I needed something straight. Went over to my bench, laid it down, and I built it off the bench and how flat it was, and then checked it, and it was dead flat. Everything was square, everything was good to go. So, I mean, if I did that, maybe I could not be positive. Like, I have a piece of MDF sitting on top of my bench, and it's sitting on top of some, 2x4s that are not even by any means. So, with humidity and the weather and everything else, the bench is flat enough for me to work on when it comes to doing certain things, but I wouldn't trust it enough to do a router sled or build an entire box or anything on there and create something that is completely square and flat.
In my dream shop, I think I would have an in-house barista so I could have like a nice cup of coffee, but like a fancy cup of coffee whenever I want.
The kind where you put your pinky out and you drink it?
The kind where they draw the things in the foam on top.
Jeez, man, that's a good idea. I'm gonna add that to my list too.
Right? Like you can have a coffee bar, but I want actually somebody who is making these amazing cup of coffee while I'm making mediocre flags.
Well, at that point in time, your flags are going to be like, huge. They're going to be like on the side of buildings and stuff too, right? I mean, like, might as well. It's Dream Shop.
Yes, made out of Baril 2x4s found at Home Depot. I like it. But I would still stick with Douglas fir.
Oh, you have to. I mean, like, you want to get that curl.
Well, how do you think I get the waves in it? I just let the Doug fir just acclimate to my shop, and next thing I know, I have a straight board, and then I wind up with a wavy flag.
Yeah, there you go. Or you make a real quick, you get it from like Home Depot, you make it real quick and just let it sit, and all of a sudden you have that wavy flag.
Exactly. There you go. I really make it paper thin, so then the wave you can really see. Sometimes the ends touch.
And with that...
Get it? Douglas fir in New Jersey loves to move. A lot.
Oh my, yeah. Dude, like, I bought some 2x4s the other day from a big box store. I won't name it. It has blue logo and white lettering. But I brought it.
Home Lows?
Maybe. I brought it back and I'm like, okay, cool. I know what I'm getting. And I set it down. I left it there for a couple of days and I picked it up and there was pitch on my ground. And I'm like, oh, these are really dry. Can't use these right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I'm telling you, if you've never tried, well, you're not dealing with the pine, but if you do have to use 2x4s, try those barils that I've been getting. So I think we hit that topic pretty good on our dream shop. Few odds and ends. Josh wants an accordion style shrink down shop. I kind of just want higher ceilings. That's all I want. Just give me a little bit higher ceiling than bumping my head on the dust collection. But anyway, I wanted to thank all of our listeners. We did reach a milestone the other day. We hit 500 downloads on our podcast. That's a huge milestone. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for, supporting us, both on Instagram and the podcast. And we really enjoy doing this every Tuesday. And then, you get to listen to it on Thursday-ish. So I'm really happy that, we hit that 500 mark. Can't wait to, get more subscribers, more listeners. And, if you haven't shared it with your friends, share it with your friends. Then they'll get hooked on our wonderful voices, my stuttering. I can't think of anything else to say. But also, they will become part of the Sawdust Nation that we are all part of. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your ma, tell your dad, tell the cat. See? You got to tell the cat. The cat will listen. Trust me, my cats, I walked in on them, and they were listening to the podcast on I can't say her name, Alexa.
Well, it is cat and pet friendly, so.
It is. I did hear them listening to it. And that's also a really cool thing that Josh did tell me about. If you do have one of those little things called an Alexa, that you can just ask it to play the Sawdust Nation podcast, and it will play our lovely voices over that little speaker that it has inside it.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite ways to listen in the shop. I go in there and I say that name, and I say, play the podcast Sawdust Nation, and it tunes up. Wherever I stop listening, it just continues. So it will automatically play the next episode, so you can be in the shop and just listen or catch up or just replay the episodes you haven't, listened to yet. So thanks for stopping by, and thank you again for the 500 listeners. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate you guys supporting us. You can always send us questions if you have them by DMing AJ at CraftedInNJ or myself at North Country Woodworking. We also have the podcast Instagram page at Sawdust Nation Podcast. We additionally have an email you can send a question to in a voice message at sawdustnationpodcast@gmail.com. We will see you guys next time on another episode of Sawdust Nation. See ya.
See ya. Meow.
Oh, by the way, your workshop test is failed. You failed hard. It's rain.
I kind of